Disneyland is moving forward. We just got a whole bunch of announcements from D23 about what is coming to Disneyland Resort, and we are so excited to share that with you today.
I can't wait to dive into everything.
You're listening to Castle Talk Radio. We're live on the airwaves with Becca and Jessica. Now let's jump into this week's episode.
Jessica, D23 just happened this weekend. Neither of us was able to attend, but I was watching everyone who was live streaming from the event, so I was able to catch the announcements live, and it was a lot. And in my opinion, Walt Disney World was the clear winner of this event, but Disneyland did get a lot of exciting announcements. So we're going to dive into that today. I know you have detailed information, or at least as detailed as we could get, of the announcements, and then we're going to kind of do some speculation with that as well.
I am ready for all of it. And I have to tell you, Becca, we kind of make a living off of FOMO. Like, we tell people, like, you got to come to Disneyland, you got to be here. And this time, skipping out on D23, I was feeling all the FOMO. I probably texted you, told you several times over the weekend how sad I was to miss the event. And I had that FOMO. So even though it seems like we're always there and we're always doing the things, we also know how it feels to miss out every once in a while. But all of these things coming in the future, you're going to want to start planning and saving so that you don't miss out.
Definitely. And one thing I want to say is, I was nervous going into this because last D23, 2 years ago, everything we got was like, oh, this is just what we've been thinking about, right? We didn't really get anything that was in the works. And the very first thing Josh D'Amaro said was, everything that we are going to tell you today is in the work. Dirt is being broken on these projects. They are happening. And right then, that's when I knew, oh my gosh, I wish I was there.
Oh man. So let's get into the first thing I think that everybody wants to know, because it is right around the corner. It is Tiana's Bayou Adventure opening at Disneyland Park on November 15th of 2024. Why is that date already important?
Well, that's the kickoff of the holidays at Disneyland Resort. I think this is a smart move for them as far as media. They can do one media event that encapsulates both the holiday kickoff and Tiana's Bayou. Most likely they'll start the media event a day or two before and let them do Tiana's Bayou first. I also think it is smart because it's not going to be as in demand like it will the first week or two, obviously, from all the locals and media and everyone wanting to ride it. But I think because of the cooler weather, we won't see it as in demand as we would if they opened it in like May or something like they did, or June like they did at Walt Disney World. So I think that's smart.
Yeah, I hope that helps out everything. And, Becca and I both attend a lot of media events at Disneyland Resort. This is what I want to be on the list for. Now, there's not really any way to guarantee that, but I'm just throwing it out there. How about you, Becca? You want to come?
I want to be there. Definitely. I would also love, I don't think they'll do this just because Walt Disney World gets a lot annual pass holder previews. And I think a lot of that is because there's less local annual pass holders than there are Magic Key holders at Disneyland. But I would like to see a Magic Key preview. I don't know if it will happen or not, but it would be nice.
Right. And another thing that I want to add is that Tiana's Bayou Adventure is opening in Bayou Country. Now,
Yes.
if that sounds a little bit different, it's because they kind of slid that into the announcements that Critter Country is getting a new name and it will reopen as Bayou Country. Another thing that just came in this morning, it wasn't part of D23's announcements, and we're still getting announcements as this week progresses, is that the Hungry Bear restaurant is being redone, rethemed, and it will be called the Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree. I love this. Isn't it so reminiscent of the Thunder Ranch barbecue area place?
Yeah, and so they announced the name change a little bit ago. So we know that's been known, but today they released some of the menu items, and that's what's getting us excited. It really does feel like a return of that Big Thunder Ranch barbecue, and I think this is going to be a really good change. That restaurant had gone quite a bit downhill, so I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, it's going to be a great way to kind of give a nod to the country bears, of course, and then also add in that Tiana's element. But we've got to keep going. There is so
Yeah.
much more to explore at Disneyland. So I'm going to tell you the one thing that I'm really excited about Disneyland Park. In 2025, we are getting Walt Disney in animatronic form. He will be coming to the Opera House. It's a new show. It's going to be called Walt Disney: A Magical Life. And we're going to see that playing a bunch of times as it first opens. And then they're going to kind of navigate the demand there. And then it will alternate with great moments. So Mr. Lincoln is not going anywhere. Those two shows will play one after another after the initial debut. I think this is a perfect way to kind of enter into Disney's 70th year and give all the credit to Walt Disney in his home park.
Definitely. In fact, I think that was one of the things I was most excited for. Another thing I want to say is a lot of the stuff that was announced at Disneyland that we're going to talk about after this is several years in the future before it's done, right? And so it was really exciting to get the Tiana's date and then to also know that this is coming next year. And again, next year, they did mention it is going to be the 70th anniversary of Disneyland opening. They didn't give us a ton about what's going to be going on. So I'm excited to see when those announcements start rolling out.
Yeah, we did get a little preview of the logo, which is super cute. Love it. I'm ready for the merch, ready for all the things. One more thing at Disneyland Park that they did announce, we're going to have some new scenes added to Smuggler's Run. Now, I'm not quite sure date-wise on that, but it is in celebration of the upcoming film set to hit theaters in 2026. And that's
Yes.
The Mandalorian and Grogu. So that means we're going to incorporate those two characters into Smuggler's Run and Galaxy's Edge. This is something in the past they've more added scenes to Star Tours, and they've been reluctant to introduce things into Galaxy's Edge because of the story and timeline and things. But we know that we see the Mandalorian himself and Grogu walking through the land. So I think this is a great way to refresh Smuggler's Run. Again, that movie hits theaters in 2026, but I say let's add these different scenes as soon as we can and get that hype going for the movie and then just kind of get that refresh. So hopefully we don't have to wait too long for that.
They did say it would be closer to when the movie releases. So I don't know if
Okay.
that means maybe end of 2025 or if they're going to like really wait
Good
until
call.
2026. But we'll
Yeah,
see.
I think we could do it earlier, but we don't want like a full year of tease, right?
No. That's everything that they announced over at Disneyland Park, but we know that Disneyland has another park, and that is Disney California Adventure. And they made some exciting announcements, including one, actually a couple, but one that nobody saw coming at all. And so that's actually like really going to be part of a big expansion of Avengers Campus. So let's talk about Avengers Campus first.
Okay, so we all had heard about a third attraction. That's been kind of since Kree even breaking ground of Avengers Campus. And now we know that we're actually getting two new attractions. This is really cool. And we have names: Avengers Infinity Defense and Stark Flight Lab, which I am just known for reading things wrong. And I must have read it 5 times as Stark's Fight Lab. And I was like, interesting choice. But that is not it. It is Flight Lab. So 2 attractions, just 2 new ways to interact with your favorite superheroes. And this is going to be cool. Do we think this is going to be, well, we know one is going to be an expansion kind of in between, like to the right of Guardians. But where do we think this is going to go? both
Okay.
of these.
Well, one thing they said, and I don't know if it's in the press releases, but they did say this on stage, is they're basically doubling the size of Avengers Campus. And so we know that kind of behind, where the Quinjet is, to the right of that, that's actually, I think, where everything is going, which is also to the right of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
But they're going to open up that area back there that right now I think it's just buildings and like behind the scenes area, stuff like that backstage.
Mhm.
So I think that's where that's all going. And like you said, we'd heard of the third ride, which is going to be called Avengers Infinity Defense. Originally, we were supposed to get a Wakanda style ride. Then they changed it 2 years ago, saying this is what we're doing now. We haven't heard anything since. But here we learned the name. We saw the vehicles. We learned that we're going to go to like New York City and Asgard and a few other places. So it's really cool to get those updates. But I have to say, I kind of like your name better. It should be Stark Fight Club instead of Stark's Flight Lab.
And what is the first rule of Stark's Fight Club?
We don't talk about Stark's Fight Club. So anyways, no one saw this additional Avengers ride coming. Like we had no idea this was in the works. But moving on to something we did know was coming because it had been told to us that we were going to get this. And we didn't know if it was going to be in downtown Disney or what it was going to be. We just got word of a whole new land area. We aren't exactly sure coming to California Adventure. What is that, Jessica?
This is Pandora, and this is very cool as well because, again, like you're saying, we've had time to speculate on this in the Disney community, and now we know that it's going to be inspired by Avatar: The Way of Water and future films in the franchise. So it's not necessarily going to be a copy and paste from Walt Disney World.
Yeah, and that was actually kind of a theme that we had because we have seen so often where things have been copy and pasted to other parks lately, like Galaxy's Edge. They're basically the same. We have Tiana's Bayou, basically the same. So it's nice to be getting original stuff on each coast. They announced it's going to have a boat ride and it looked really cool. A little bit like Navi River Journey over there, but extra elements, a different storyline, but it's going to have that glowing, luminescent, bioluminescence and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so again, where do we think this is going to go? We know it's California Adventure Park. Did they give any hints?
They didn't. I was looking at the Disneyland app. I think it's going to be an expansion of the Disneyland Forward area. One of our friends, Sarah, who loves to look at this stuff, loves pulling, permits and things. She thinks it's going to be part of the Disneyland Forward. If you look at the Disneyland Forward map, it looks like it could be there. I think it's behind Avengers Campus, behind Guardians. There's an area that was part of Disneyland Forward. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We don't know. I don't think they gave a date on this one either, did
No.
they? Yeah,
No
so
date.
that's the other thing. We didn't get a lot of dates, whereas Walt Disney World did. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. It's kind of weird to me, like that they're putting. I just feel like now Galaxy's Edge is even more misplaced now that this is Pandora and Avengers Campus. Like that feels like the IP park. But I love that we're growing that side. I think with the other announcement we're going to talk about, it's going to make California Adventure more of a park you want to go to. Like right now it's kind of like a laid back, like half day if you really need it. It's got fun rides, but not a ton. I think that's going to change.
Absolutely. We have said so many times that, you can do Disneyland Resort in 3 days, spend 1 day at California Adventure, even sleep in on that day if you want to. This is a key turning point in California Adventure's timeline where we're going to look back and say, like, at a future point, you might need 2 days at California Adventure or 1 day, absolutely. So this really changes the whole dynamic of Disneyland Resort, which is what they want. They want this to be a vacation destination that you're coming to and you're spending several days. And you mentioned Disneyland Forward. That's a part of billions of dollars expansion that was recently approved. And that's going to include a ton of other things that we have gotten vague ideas about, like more hotels, possibly even a third park or a different kind of downtown Disney concept. So this land is, I believe Bob Iger said previous to D23 that this land is the first kind of announced thing that is part of Disneyland Forward. So a couple other places that I've heard speculation on, and these ideas I don't think come from one person, so I'm not going to attribute that because it's a general idea that a lot of people agree on. Doesn't mean this is happening, but I've heard Redwood Creek Challenge Trail. I've even heard Grizzly could be transformed into that, but I don't think we need that. And I don't think that's going to happen seeing what we've seen at D23.
Yeah.
Then let's see, I think those are the only ones that I've heard for Pandora and the one that you had already shared.
Yeah, I don't think they can get rid of the challenge trail. Like, that's the one place kids can really unwind in that park. It is actually really popular. It does the Villains Grove or whatever it's called during Oogie Boogie. I don't think, and it would also change the dynamic of the Grand Californian. And I don't think that they could get rid of that because that really plays into the theming of the Grand Californian, which is right there. I do think it's going to be an expansion. I do not think it's going to be replacing something else. But we have to get to my favorite because we're almost out of time. But my favorite announcement, I think they even gave a year for this one, but I'm not sure like when it's going to start. They're going to start
construction year.
Yes. This is my favorite announcement. I'm so excited for it. What are we getting?
We are getting a Pixar Coco attraction, and it is not just a re-theme of something that we already have. This is going to be a fantastic attraction. It is going to be a journey to the land of the dead alongside Miguel, and it's going to be a boat ride. We love boat rides.
Yeah. Well, okay. Does it actually say on the park's blog that it's a boat ride? Because there's been speculation. The concept art looks like it could be a boat, but when you look at it closer, it looks like it's chairs. So it's really hard to say. Or maybe, no, I think this one was the boat ride. See, there were so many announcements. I'm getting confused with Walt Disney World.
So true.
But yeah, it's going to be this is the one where
awesome.
It's going to be awesome. Coco's my favorite Pixar movie just because of the connection with your family and all of that and remembering people and all that kind of stuff. But we already I want to speculate about where it's going to be because I have a few ideas.
I have some ideas too.
I think that they could expand behind Pixar Pier a little bit and put it there because it is Pixar. The other thing I think would be really cool is if they were able to expand where the Pixar Pier doors for the parades open, if they could expand back there, and it could be this transitional spot from there to Paradise Garden Park, because we know they do Plaza de la Familia there, and they do the Feliz Navidad, all of that stuff plays into Coco. And the other thing I thought is if they're going to tear something down, I could see them taking down Goofy Sky School. I just don't think that has enough room because behind Goofy Sky School is the Grand Californian. So of course, that makes it hard to put it there. But I think it's going to tie in somewhere around there. If it doesn't, I'll be shocked. But what are your ideas?
Okay, so my kids and I had a great time talking about this yesterday. I would like to see almost all Paradise Gardens Park redone. And I'm talking about swings. I'm talking about, what else do we have there? Not over all the way up to Goofy Sky School. So that whole area, including the restaurants. I want to see the Coco ride go kind of back where the restaurants are and maybe even into backstage there. And also, so that would extend Pixar Pier into that area. And we had talked about with my kids about I want a restaurant similar to Blue Bayou that's inside the Coco attraction. And my daughter, Julian, had the name of Mama Coco's Cocina. That works for me. So let's do that. And then we'll still have space to have another quick service restaurant, but I really would love the idea of a sit-down, Coco-themed restaurant, because I think we need another reservation sit-down restaurant at California Adventure, especially with these additions. The demand is going to be there, and I'm just so excited for that area. I still want it to have all the festivals and things that they have now, and we can just kind of expand Pixar Pier.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think we're kind of thinking around the same lines. And, you know, they have at Epcot at Walt Disney World, there is the Grand Fiesta Tour, and it has a restaurant right there. And so it's kind of the same thing as that in Blue Bayou. I think they could do it. I love the name that your daughter came up with. And Disney, we aren't expecting any, we have to say this, because anytime you suggest anything online, Disney sends a message, we can't accept suggestions because they're worried about royalties and things. We don't care, just do it. Okay.
So it would be so fun. I think that the Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta is a great spot. Super underrated, but super underutilized as far as space goes. You can almost always go in there without a wait to grab some food. Paradise Gardens Grill next door, not always the case. They get a lot of seasonal things that makes it really popular, but that's where I think we can mess around with things there while still keeping like a kitchen space and 2 dining, but really utilize that space a little bit more.
Definitely. All right, that's all the time we have for this episode, but we have a bonus episode coming to you this week. We're going to do another one that talks about Walt Disney World, so go ahead and keep listening, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.